Hey everybody, doing a recap today. Wanted to touch on the global macro as usual. Coming into this new events with everything that's going on overseas. I'm gonna highlight this morning's trading. Um, it's important to kind of understand how you can kind of add to your winners when you have days like this where it's just straight up and there's a nice bullish uptrend in equities. And the way you do that is once you have some profit or you're up on the day, there's a way to add always want to add to your winners. So like that's the same for when you're up on their equity for the day. So you have profit. You're in the money on the day. You've got some P&L to work with, and then you can get more aggressive towards the end of the move. But you have to keep you want to work your average cost when you do that. And it usually depends on how you add, but it gets a little bit anytime you add, you're gonna move your average cost up. But that's how you can kind of press, and that's what these algos do also. That's why these markets kind of go straight up sometimes, is because the machines and the big money is doing the same thing. They're adding on the way up. Um, but you can put together some nice days. So I guess we'll just start with the global macro. Oh, here's is the Russell on the left. And I talked about last week. My guys know that this was a nice this 8.6 count has done a really good job. So it's just a way we one of the cycles that we measure time, and these cycles play out on all the different time frames. But you can see on the Russell, this is the daily. We had a higher low back in the summer, four count up, pivot high, mid cycle, put in a low on the 8 count, rallied into a high, went sideways into another high and another cycle up, and then broke the 8, broke down here on the intermediate term. But then there was two 8.6 cycles counts back into pi. So the market's rallies here from pi, comes all the way up, comes back down to pi, bounce to a lower high pivot, another 8 count, nice drop, 8 count, and then you had two more 8 count drops into a low last week. So we were covering Russell shorts, and the narrative changed. So at the end of last week, it was still a lot about the Fed, even though most of the market's pricing in that the Fed's done. So the market's looking past that. So the bulls want to talk about earnings. The bears are talking more about rates. I'll touch on treasuries in a second. But then when over the weekend, when you have everything that goes down, like on the war cycle, it changes things. And I don't just listening to the financial media today, people try to explain why equities could be up with all the atrocities going on, and it's sometimes it's more about capital flow. So if you want to compare what just went on to 9/11, which you definitely can do considering what's happened, um, for that area, the point is that when we had 9/11, you had planes flying right into literally to Cameron Fitzgerald's um, office space and floors, and it's an attack, obviously, on the financial capital of the world and Wall Street. So of course, equities were going to go down. But just as bad as everything's going on now, um, you have to understand that if capital is going to flee those types of areas and those regions, so if you want to move your money to highest liquid, biggest markets, move it over to where the US is, away from, you know, everything that's happening. That's sometimes what capital will do. So you can have flight to quality in equities. And this could continue, even though we were oversold to begin with. That this changes things a little bit from a capital perspective. So there's no reason why this can't come higher. I did reset some core shorts on the Russell, but I'm very aware that we could see a rally back to pi at the minimum if we get above this pivot. So you got to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I think that's a better explanation of why equities are up today, despite all the negative war headlines, is because you have to understand there's a flight to quality and there's international capital flows. And that could be into the dollar, which has already had a big move up. Sometimes capital will move in advance. Don't think that there's not people that knew what's going on. We had a huge rally in the dollar for the last 2-3 weeks, for the month, really. Gold didn't have too big of a reaction after being oversold. We talked about that. I highlighted that in the last video. Maybe that's the low. I was kind of looking for 1800, but that's a good spot. If you want to be long gold, there's certainly going to be people buying that kind of risk off flight to safety trade also. So you could be long there with your risk below last week's lows. And then volatility is off this morning, but you're still in a bullish uptrend. And the other place I think it makes sense to hang out is long oil. I got back long Brent today, just because it has more exposure to the whole region that's affected, versus WTI is a little bit more supply of crude based on the US, the Texas markets, etc. So I like being long Brent as this trade also. You could get into the defensive names. I'm not going to bring up tickers, but there's definitely probably stuff to do long Lockheed Martin and some of that. Now treasuries, I thought we were getting close to a low. Technically, we haven't really changed a whole lot yet, but I still like being long twos. I did cover some tens this morning. I don't think the 2 year is going to get much below this 101 handle. Tens, I think this morning they were off and then they rallied back. Yeah, so this morning I covered all my short 10-year here, and then we had a nice rally. So this is an interesting spot when we call it the TMS when you look at the intermediate term, and that's just the way to view the trend. But this is starting to change. It first started to change here. Now we're kind of hanging out at this pi cycle. So we may see treasuries nice double bottom. I think you could have been before all this happened. I was saying that we're probably close to a low, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do start a little bit of an uptrend or a new bull market. So being long twos, you're going to be exposed to that. I did buy some ultras, so we're still playing a little bit of both sides. Long twos, long ultras. Covered our tens this morning. Short a few 30s. I'll probably add to those 30s closer to pi up here around 118 the buck. Sorry, that's ultras. Come out of my ultras long around pi and then reset some 30-year shorts a little bit higher also. So that's how we're playing that. And then so today, where's the Algo chart? So with the Algo service, one of my goals near term is just to help with the signaling and the trend process. So without going through our whole coaching and learning the model, there's ways you view the trend, there's a way to use the cycle, different time frames. But here on the 5-minute, this was the morning. Didn't really go bullish till late morning. And then there was a bunch of cycles to be long here. And there's even more to do on the 1 minute. I think I put those charts in this email I'm about to send out. And so this is S&P. I started out short. Show you another chart in a second. Started out short and ended up getting more aggressively long NASDAQ into this rally. But there's a lot of things to do. I dragged this short here at a loss, you could see, and then I was getting long NASDAQ on the break, taking some off, buying some back, taking some off, high in the cycle, buying some back, taking profit, trying to trail some. And then once I booked some gains here on NASDAQ, I actually ended up getting long S&P as well. Just the same thinking, buying the pullbacks, This stayed in a nice uptrend all morning. Trailed this out into the highs, took on new highs, took on new highs. And then the thing that I was talking about earlier in the video is towards the end of the move, you can press these longs. I like doing it after you're up on the day. So I don't start off long 2, 3 contracts on NASDAQ. I start off long 1, I make some money. I buy back another lot, make some money. That way you have a profit cushion. And then just like you add in the direction of your plays, you want to get more aggressive in the direction of your P&L on the day. So once I get up to $3,000, it's like, all right, let's see if we can get another $2,000 out of this. And then I'll add to it, but I'm not going to give up my day's gains. So you can see late in the day here, I was long 2 contracts. I think I ended up buying a third actually. But notice this is my average cost below the market. This is the average cost. And as you add, obviously that'll move up. So if you buy here, your average cost starts there. Right? If you buy here and then you buy more, it brings your average up. And so here I'm long 2 lots, and I'm not going to let that go back below my average cost. That way I lock in the bulk of my gains, and I see if I can get a little bit more extra out of it. So you can always add like that, but then you just stay with your average cost. A lot of traders will buy that, and then it kind of rolls over on them, and they get caught hoping, and then they get caught in a reversal, and you give back your entire morning and everything you worked on. So that's the key on how to add with your average cost, and paying attention to that. So what that looked like was, you can barely see it on S&P, but it started out just kind of chopping around in here. And then once we got through these highs, it's all bullish from there. So this is where I was short covered, was up on the day S&P, and then when the market started to break out, I actually started to lose money on S&P, but I got more aggressive long NASDAQ. So I was only short 1 contract, so lost some money there, but I was more aggressive here, and then ended up getting long S&P on this pullback and taking that into the high, and then all along on the 1 minute, it's just adding and reducing. So getting long, taking some off, buying this pullback, taking some, buying again, taking some, buying, taking some, buying, taking some, buying, taking some. And then this was that last part where I pressed to see if we could get another $2,000 out of it, buying in here, but keeping a tight risk at your average cost. If the market would have reversed, fine, still make money on the day. If you get one last push, boom, booked it. That was done right there. So that's what that looks like. So there's me still working the end of the move, and then finished up almost $5,000. And you can see this is, again, that's where that average is nice and close to the market. And then push the new highs, take, done for the day. So that's how you can kind of stair step and add to your winners. And the machines are doing the same thing. All right. That's what creates these types of moves when it's really bullish. Anyway, guys, hope it helps. I'll be putting the details. If you want to sign up, go to CycleEdgeCapital.com. The Algo service is running at an awesome discount still. Really affordable to get in. I can help you get that on your trading view charts. You can set it up to automatically trade different time frames. You can kind of play around with it, but it's just a whole group and team to get together. Things will change in markets, but it's a way to kind of directly help you get the signals, the cycle, the model, all automated, and you can do things where you run it with your broker. Click that. That's where you sign up for that. And then also I'll put the link for the inner circle. There's still great prices to get involved with us if you want to learn to day trade. That's a good goal. The program is maybe $1,000, $2,000. Can't even remember where my partner has it at. Because you can easily do $1,002 a day just trading the open. So it'll help you do it. But I think that's important given all the volatility and what's going on in the world. Just to have, you want to fight inflation, should be long oil, just to hedge your stupid transportation costs. It's hard, you can't control what these politicians are doing, but you can at least take advantage of the market moves. So, yep, that's that. Have a great week. See some of you in the morning.